All right, what is going on, guys? It is Monday night. It is October 28th, about 8 o'clock p.m. The daily candle just closed. I know I didn't do a video on Friday last week. It was my wife's birthday, so I wasn't really around for the entire weekend. I wanted to show her a good time, which luckily, in light of everything else that's been going on the past couple days, I was able to make happen. Today was not really the best day for me. I got some bad news. I'll go ahead and get into that later, but that's more on a personal note. So let's go ahead and take a look at the charts, get into the video, and I'm going to go ahead and make this quick so I can go ahead and get out of your hair and we can get back to trading. All right, guys, and I'm back. Here we are, Bitcoin weekly chart. We've had a couple of ridiculous weeks here in the past 2 months. Obviously, we had this major move to the downside, which was followed just by a little bit of sideways movement here. We were slowly working our way up, which is why most people thought, okay, we're forming a major bear flag here. We're going to continue downwards, down into the, just like everybody else. I was calling anywhere between 7.2 and about 6.8, potentially lower. That ended up not happening. We ended up getting a really bullish dragonfly doji here on the weekly chart, and right after that, I think it was on Friday, the night of my wife's birthday, and we just rocketed on out of there, and it was really crazy. This week so far, we are starting to retrace. We're starting to form a bearish hammer here on the weekly chart. Indicators are telling us right now it looks obviously like we're recovering a little bit from this downtrend or whatever. We had lower lows here in the price in terms of candle wicks. We had lower lows up here on my single line indicator, and now we're starting to move our way back up. We are sitting right around in the middle though at just about 50. So on the downside, in terms of our oscillator down here on our awesome oscillator, we had this major bullish move here, and now ever since I think this was almost the second to last week in July, it flipped over, and we had this really bearish momentum, and we just started correcting from this big hyperbolic move that we had. And right now, it doesn't look as though we're going to switch over to the downside on this yet. It is still a possibility for the long term. This could just be one little correction up or whatever, one little mercy bounce or something before we head down deeper, or it's going to be a slow bleed. But for right now, we are keeping our heads in the positive territory on our awesome oscillator for the weekly chart. Taking a look at our daily chart here, our daily candle had just closed today. It did close bearish. We also just had 3 days of hardcore bullish momentum, so that is kind of expected. Right now, the new daily candle is actually starting off on the bullish side, which is a good sign. So we'll have to see what happens with that. In terms of indicators for the weekly chart, obviously they have turned around. We have flipped over to the positive side on our awesome oscillator here, as you can see that. And we are hovering around definitely the top half of our single line oscillator up here, momentum indicator up here. So that is one thing to look out for. Sometimes if it hovers around here too long, we end up getting a move to the downside, but we are just about keeping our heads above water. If you see this on the volume, we're keeping our heads just above water in this break of volume right here. And I think that's really what contributed to that second really big push up that second day. But this candle, even though we hit all the way up into 10.5 or whatever, obviously we weren't going to stay there, because in 2 days we went from 74 to 10.4 or whatever. It's a $3,000 move. There's no way it's going to move $3,000 and hold. I can't remember a time in Bitcoin's history where that's ever actually happened, where we've moved $3,000 and not had a retrace of some sort. So this was kind of expected, huge bearish hammer here followed by a bullish. It's almost a spinning top, but the body's a little too big for that. And then followed up by another, it kind of looks like an elongated bearish hammer here. So we'll have to see what the momentum, happens in the next day or so on the daily chart. Let's go ahead and take a look at exactly what this has meant for indicators and for our count and stuff like that. So I was calling for a deeper bottom. Originally, I was kind of flip-flopping back and forth in terms of my Elliott wave count. With this being a 333 correction and us ending a two wave of a larger, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, impulse move up. So it's looking like now, I mean, unless this was to break very, very far back down, that this was definitely the end of this corrective move here. For my fib pull, I actually measured this. Let me go ahead and adjust this a little bit. It's not exactly on point. Hold on 1 second here. For the entire move, I have this measured from our low here. That is our low, right? Yeah, that's our low. Okay. 31.28 or something. Yeah, 31.28 right here. So from 31.28 up to our high, which was, I guess, 13.8 or whatever, we did almost exactly touch the 618. So I'm gonna call that a touch. I mean, I know that it's within what, like $20 or something, like 20 or 50 bucks, but that is definitely a really solid retrace for such an impulsive move like this. A lot of people are saying that we could potentially, just have another slow grind back down or go sideways for a while, or form some kind of bull flag here and then break down out of that and really make a correction down into this 80% zone where most people were expecting. Maybe not 80% because that's down around 5K, but I know most people were certainly expecting anywhere between 65 and 7,500. We did hit 7,200 as our low here. I think our low, it was 7,296, so just above $7,300. And that was pretty low. That definitely cut the price down, obviously about 60% here. So that is a really solid retracement. Am I convinced that the down move is done? I really want to say yes. Normally, after we see a really, really big impulsive move like this, normally we do see a retrace, but normally we don't see it break down much further, if at all, past prior levels. So this is definitely something I'm going to be watching in the future. From here on out, let's go ahead and actually take a look at our moving averages real quick. So we did have a bearish 50 and 200 MA cross, and this is what fucked up a lot of people, including myself. Everybody was expecting this really, really big bearish move. Every single time that we've gotten a death cross like this on Bitcoin, it's been something of historic proportions where we've seen like crazy big moves. Like this death cross here, we had our initial move here and a rebound, and then we just slow grinded down for months and months and months until we finally rejected off of this 50 EMA so many times that we broke down even further to prior historical resistance at $3,100, and that was our last ultimate low that we had. But if you look back, I think on Brave New Coin or something. If you look back on Brave New Coin's history, especially like on the weekly chart, I know it would have to be on the daily to show it all. Every single time that we've had one of these really, really big crosses, it's just been really bad for Bitcoin, really, really bad for like months. And that's why I'm not totally convinced that this is over yet. I mean, we were pretty much going sideways here, so I kind of discount this. But, going up, 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 and then, we had this, and this was our last big move down. But, if we scroll back through a lot of our, history, it's just been always really, really bad. This time this was in Bitcoin's really early days, and we actually used the 50 as support before we broke down further. But that's one of the only times that we did that. And then normally we use the 50 as heavy resistance on the way back up. So am I fully convinced that the downtrend is over? I really, really want to be bullish and say yes, but compared to prior history, I'm just really, really not convinced yet. I am glad that we are sitting above the 200 and the 50 MA. That is really good. We are sitting quite high above these levels because that's down near, that's about $500 lower than we are right now, which is very good. So that is really bullish, and we are seeing some really good bullish momentum. But the question is are we going to stick with that? Is that going to actually hold? So Ichimoku, my moving averages on my Ichimoku are actually the exponential moving averages, and we actually never got a death cross on the 50 and 200 moving averages. We looked like we were going to, and then obviously with this huge move, you can see if you zoom in real close here to the 50 and the 200 MA, it was just like a really sharp move up. It flatlined across one candle and then it just moved up, and we didn't even get the cross. So I don't know if, maybe whales were using the 50 and the 200 MA and they just really wanted to fuck over everybody and do exactly what the opposite the market should be doing, or they were using the EMAs and they refused, and the bulls refused to let them cross. I really don't know. I don't think I'll ever know. I'm not a whale. I don't trade with that much. I'm not, a major market maker like that. But in the past couple of days, there has been a lot of money moving around on the exchanges. If you're familiar with Whale Alert on Twitter and things of that nature, there has been a lot of money moving around from exchange to exchange, transferring back and forth from wallets to Bitfinex, from Bitfinex to Huobi, from Bybit to wallets, and wallets to Binance. And there's been a shit ton of liquidity moving around the last couple of days, and I'm trying to discuss with our team exactly. We're trying to make sense of that and try and figure out exactly why that's happening right now. And I don't think that it's people taking profits, because if it was, we would have seen way more profit taking than this one little bearish candle here. It would have been way worse. Like, we would have come down, we would have at least tested $8,200 again. So we'll have to see. The cloud here, the Ichimoku Cloud, we are starting to thin out on the Ichimoku Cloud, which is really good. We haven't gotten a bullish TK cross yet, and we've actually been using this cloud as very heavy resistance. So I think what's going to be in store for us, honestly, is I think we are going to maybe have a little bit of a slow grind downwards as we keep correcting and people start taking profits as the momentum and the volume dies off a little bit and stuff like that throughout the rest of the week and this weekend. And what I really think is going to end up happening is we'll either test, just like we have the Kinjinsen, the Tenkinsen. We're probably going to test these first, and certainly test the 50 EMA. I think is definitely the strongest possibility. For an immediate test is probably between 9,000 and 8,800, in that $250 range. Any deeper than that, we would be looking to hold support on our 200 EMA at about $8,600. And if those levels started breaking down, then we would pretty much just be right back where we started, a couple weeks ago. So with that said, we did not manage to hold above this resistance box that I've had drawn here for, it's been a support and resistance box for months now. I think I originally drew it somewhere in here. So back in July, I drew this out, and this has really held true the entire time. This has been a great area to accumulate before a pop, and it's been a great place to sell when we've had it as resistance. And this is actually the first real time that we've actually seen this as resistance, besides here when we first decided to break through this back in June. So this would probably be a good area to potentially be opening up some scalp shorts and be looking for a retrace here. If this was a first move up of a larger 5-wave impulse, then I would be expecting a 2-wave. Take a look here. I would be expecting a about 50% right here, about 9,000. So right now we're basically using the 382 as resistance, and there's no way, in my opinion, that a 2-wave would be this short. There's no way, just no way. On the day chart, one candle being an entire wave just normally doesn't happen. So I will be looking for this to correct down to about $9,000 or $8,800 and testing our 50 EMA. Our baseline here on the Ichimoku Cloud, which is also the 50% retracement for this big impulse that we just had. So I think that that's a really good target here. Normally selling resistance and buying support is really the way to go, especially if you're playing Ichimoku Clouds and stuff like that. And just kind of doing traditional charting, which is what I've been doing more so lately. With the exception of this last move that we just had, has been playing out very well so far all through this. And while I was playing this entire range here, if we look in closer on the 4-hour chart and get rid of our Ichimoku, like I've said in past videos, I was playing this range for so long. Buying at the the lower yellow dashed and red dashed lines and selling the top ones, and then rebuying and then reselling and rebuying and reselling. Honestly, range trading, when we're ranging, that's normally when I make the most money, because in our group, I actually had, once we had this last bottom here, I actually had this little zone as an accumulation zone for stacking more short orders. And I had our stop very close. I had our stop right up here at my bottom resistance line at 77.15, just above it. And luckily, I had it there. I think some other groups and stuff like that, they had it way higher. They had it like 7,800 or 8,000 and stuff, and they lost a lot of money on that. And for the people that didn't set market stops, I mean, they got blown past them. And a lot of this was short liquidations. This was like a big short liquidation. Let's see if that's actually true. I'm not 100% on that. Let's actually take a look at the short chart. Yeah, that pretty much looks like a short squeeze to me. I mean, that's a pretty sizable decrease in short orders, from 10,160 all the way down to 45.75, 45.50. So that's quite a bit. That's a lot of short orders getting liquidated. Right now, the long chart obviously is growing. The short order chart is also growing at the same time. And the last time we saw this was right before our last really big move. If you notice back here, this is 1023. The shorts was increasing. Our long orders back on the 23rd, they were also increasing. And then we got that big fucking move where basically everything ended up getting liquidated at the same time. It pretty much ended up, the price going back and forth so quickly ended up just liquidating a whole bunch of orders. And it just, obviously there was more buyers for trying to accumulate and get in on the move. So even after they got liquidated, the longs I'm talking about right here, when the longs got liquidated, they ended up restacking their orders to catch the move up higher, which was very successful for them. And then we had some profit taking here, which is why the price moved down. We had some people buying the dip, the price moved up. This is another sell-off. We're getting a higher low. So right now, I don't think that in the short term, which fib am I? Okay, I don't want to delete that one. I don't think in the short term we're going to be retesting lower than this area that I said. I just don't really see that happening for this move. I'm talking about this. I don't really see us testing below this $9,000 level. And if we do, this is going to be an area of super heavy support. The $8,500 range or so, $8,400 to $8,500 range. In this, we've got a Fibonacci level confluence here. And whenever there's confluence between the golden pocket and the 0.5 fib of a larger trend, there's always very strong support or resistance. Just like up here, you can tell that this 236 lines up almost perfectly with the 382 of our larger fib pull from the main trend here, from our overall move of the major parabolic move from 31 to 14K. And this is acting as major resistance up here at about $9,700. So this is probably going to be our new range. I'm not going to lie. I would probably expect us to start a new range here, and it's probably going to be anywhere from 8,500 up to 9,700. And, just like we had here, our range was, from 8,800 to, 7,700, like $1,000 range. I really think that that's probably what we're going to end up doing here, or it might be a little higher, like 9,000, like 9,700 to 9,000 or something. But somewhere in here, we're going to be ranging, I think, for quite some time. We're going to see small, I guess you'd call them quote unquote big moves, like this candle here. It was the open and close on this. Closed at 85.90. It opened up at 81.80. So like a $350, $400 move there. We will have candles like that if we do range in one of these areas. But I think it's going to be that for quite some time. Normally, after we get a big move like this, we see some ranging going on. So let's see, down on the 4-hour chart again, you can just kind of see how this level has just been kind of indecisive. We're just kind of creating this little sine wave here. And I do expect this to kind of break down further. We're probably done testing this as a resistance for right now. The bulls are probably starting to get a little exhausted, and I would expect us, sorry, let me take a sip of water real quick. I would expect us to come back down and probably test this level again. This first bearish candle here, we actually tested the 0.5 fib right to the tick, which is very, very interesting. On the 2-hour chart, it's just kind of more elongated. You can just kind of see some more candles in here, which is interesting because as you can see, we're just getting a lot of these long wicks. So just kind of indecisive movement here. We had a long wick down here with a strong bearish body. We had a bullish hammer, then we had a doji, then we had another bullish hammer, then we had kind of like that's almost a dragonfly doji, a bullish dragonfly doji, then we had a spinning top, then we had a bearish hammer. So just a lot of indecisiveness in this heavy resistance zone, just going back and forth, because the volume, if you look over here, is pretty much even in terms of bulls to bears. And now that we've broken down finally, and we got a daily close and a 2-hour close and a 4-hour close below this this resistance box that I have, and also below our 382 of the smaller trend, I do expect us to just kind of be bouncing around here for quite some time now. On the 1-hour chart, I haven't gone through and actually labeled any Elliott waves through this yet. There's not really a point to me doing that, although I will get around to it. If I had to, I would definitely call this a 1, and this 2 right here, this would be a very questionable 2. Like I said, on a daily chart, that's really only one candle, and I really don't feel comfortable labeling that as a 2. Normally these moves, even on the smaller degrees for Elliott wave counts, normally it's a lot longer than this. Like normally we would go sideways for quite some time, and that would be our 2. So let's just keep that in mind for now. Just like we went sideways for here quite some time, and then finally got a 2. Our 3 wave was really long. We went sideways really, really long time for our 4. This was a very questionable 4 for quite some time until we finally broke down into these levels again. And that's pretty much once confirmed that. I originally had this labeled, if you remember in my last couple of videos, I actually had this labeled as a truncated 5th, and I had it ending here because we started moving up again, and it looked very convincing that we were going to keep going up from here, and the entire bottom just fell out below from us. This support did not hold. This support did not hold, and we just, all hell broke loose, and we really, really went deep for a deep move on that. We almost hit the 7,200 target, and I'm going to go ahead and state that originally the call that me and Dark Energy and a lot of other chartists made that was down and calling the bottom at 7,200, I'm sorry, but if anybody wants to throw shit at me for this, I don't care. I'm going to go ahead and say that that's calling the bottom. Bitcoin is worth thousands of dollars, and I don't think that being $97.50 off from the exact bottom that we called, I don't think that's too shabby. So go ahead and say what you want, crypto Twitter, eat your heart out, but I'm going to go ahead and say that any chartist that was calling between 6,800 and 7,500 pretty much fucking nailed it. especially when when we were making these calls from way the fuck up here. I mean, we were making these calls at 10, when we were still $10,000, $12,000 and saying that the bottom was 72 or lower. I don't think coming within $100 of that call, I don't think that's too bad. So, all right, guys. So taking a look at our indicators on the smaller time frames here, let me go ahead and clean this up a little bit for you guys. About that, let's go ahead and get rid of some of that. What does Ichimoku tell us on the 1 hour chart? Normally I don't look at it on the 1 hour just because it kind of tends to be a little inaccurate. But in this case, this can actually tell us some good things here. So it looks like we're not getting any, we might be getting a little bit of bullish divergence actually on this smaller time frame here. It looks like we're getting a higher low on our single line momentum indicator, and it looks like we're getting a lower low. Turn this off, and we're getting a lower low here in price. So this would be good. If we do see a bullish move here, I don't expect it to go past $9,400. Honestly, that's probably for my longer term. Like if I was going to be shorting this longer term, for expecting a larger correction, which I think some other chartists are expecting as well. That's probably where I would be laddering my shorts in, is somewhere up here. So we'll go ahead and see. But bullish divergence for right now is definitely a good sign. If we do go higher than that, in terms of a bullish move, if I was gonna short from up here and it didn't, my stop and my flip to the upside would probably be right around $9,600, because that means that we would be trying to test at least where we had this candle top at about 99.30. So just kind of a shorter term outlook there for you guys. I hope that helps. Let me go ahead and actually switch over to my scalping chart and see what these lower time frame EMAs tell us. So I use my Heiken Ashi candles for my lower time frame scalping charts. This is normally I do a 15-minute chart here, and my EMAs for my scalp are literally just 5, 13, 5, 8, and 13, and then the yellow one is 20. I don't use 21 for that one. Trying to figure out what this blue line is. I'm just going to delete that for now. So right now we do see my 2-line cross indicator. This is a very heavily modified MACD. We do see this kind of bottoming out here on our 15-minute chart. So I think once we got a cross on this, that would be a good sign to potentially take a long here. We do see some volume dying off on this, so I'm not really too sure about that. But normally my signal for that is once we see some verified crosses with the EMAs and my 0-line indicator. Once my single line indicator comes above my 0-line here, normally that's a good time to start longing, similar to this. Over here, my dotted green and dashed red lines. I know I'm kind of rambling on right now. I haven't really seen Bitcoin for the entire past weekend, so there was quite a bit to go over today, a little more than I expected. I'm going to go ahead and cut the video down now, and definitely pay attention if you're in the Edge group. Definitely pay attention on Wednesday. I always do my market updates in the Discord channel on Wednesdays, as well as the actual video analysis as usual on Mondays and Fridays. I don't have anything scheduled for this week, so I will definitely be doing a video on Friday as well. So stay tuned for that. If you'd like more information about joining the Edge group, don't forget to go to www.edge.org. We are also developing an app that now currently works with the signals that we do in our private group with Binance. And it basically takes the signals that we have for all of our altcoins that our other chartists do. I don't do alts, our other chartists do the alts in our group, and basically it takes those signals and it will trade them for you automatically in the software that is proprietary that we have developed for our group. So if you'd like more information on that, you can also check out a little preview version of it as well at app.edge.org. All the links for this is down in the description below. Thank you very much for watching, and tune in on Friday for when I have another market analysis. This is Cobra Trading signing off. Happy trading.